Welcome back to Enlighten Us Arabic, your easy path to learning. You are joining us for lesson 22 and today we are looking at Ism Fa'il. Now Ism Fa'il is the doer of an action. Let's take a look at some examples. We've got La'ib, player, Katib, writer, Mukhrij, producer, and Mutqin, perfectionist. These are all examples of Ism al-Fa'il, and Ism al-Fa'il not to be confused with the Fa'il that we will have looked at in Jumla al-Fi'liya. The other thing to remember is that Ism al-Fa'il is derived from a verb. Let's have a look at this relationship. So we have La'iba, he played, and we have La'ib, player. The one playing, therefore, is called a player, so the one taking the action or carrying out the action of playing. Similarly, kataba, he wrote. This is our fi'l, this is our verb, our past tense verb. The one who carries out this action, katib, is called a writer. Akhraja, he produced. The one carrying out the action, so the one carrying out the verb, mukhrij, producer. Atqana, he perfected. So the one doing or the one perfecting is called mutqin, perfectionist. But how do we derive the Ism al-Fa'il? How do we arrive at Ism al-Fa'il? What is the process? Well, this depends on whether a fi'l, the verb, has 3 letters or more than 3 letters. This is also known as the verb form, and we'll look at verb forms in much more detail later. But for today's lesson, just remember that there's 2 categories. There are verbs with 3 letters and then those with more than 3 letters, and each has its own process. So let's have a look at the pattern for 3-letter verbs. In fact, for 3-letter verbs, we use the word fa'il as a template itself to derive our Ism Fa'il, to derive the word or the Arabic equivalent for player. So for instance, rather than saying he played or he plays, you wanted to say he is a player. To derive this, we use fa'il as the template. But this is for 3-letter verbs. And how do we know that a verb has 3 letters? Well, the first thing is to use the past tense. So for la'ib, this is derived from la'iba, and as you can see, it's only 3 letters. So we're going to use the first process. Now, if you recall, I said we use fa'il as our template. What does this mean? Well, this means the lam corresponds to the fa, the ayn corresponds to the ayn here, the ba corresponds to the lam. The alif, in this case, is additional. So what does this look like in practice? Well, the lam is retained, and it's retained with its fatha. We add the alif. If you'll notice here, there was no alif in our fi'l, in our verb, so we add it for our Ism Fa'il. We retain the ayn, and we retain the ayn with its kasra. And then the ba has a tanween because Ism Fa'il is an ism, and with ism we finish with tanween. So that's how we go from la'iba to la'ib. So if we take katib, again, let's have a look at the past tense. So the past tense is kataba. So again, we're going to be using fa'il as our template, where the kaf corresponds to the fa, the ta corresponds to the ayn, the ba corresponds to the lam, and the alif is additional. And what does this mean? Well, we've retained the kaf, we've added an alif, because as you can see in the verb there is no alif, but in fa'il there is. The ta here, now has a kasra because the ayn here has a kasra. And again, of course, we're finishing on tanween. This is for our 3-letter verbs. What is the process for those that have more than 3 letters? Let's have a look. Right, let's have a look at the process for verbs with more than 3 letters. Now, for verbs with more than 3 letters, we start with the present tense, al-mudari. So if we want mukhrij, what is our process? Well, we start with yukhriju. But before we delve in, how do we know yukhriju is the second category? How do we know yukhriju is a verb that has more than 3 letters? Well, in fact, we have to go back and examine the past tense. So if we take the past tense of this word, akhraja, we can see there are 4 letters here. So this indicates to us that we use the second method to derive our Ism Fa'il and not the first. So starting with yukhriju, well, what's our process? Well, we replace the ya with a mim, firstly. So as you can see here, our ya has been dropped and instead substituted for a mim. And secondly, this is an ism fa'il, it's an ism, so we end on the tanween. And now let's have a look at our 4th example, mutqin. Again, we are saying that this is derived from a verb that has more than 3 letters, and we need to start with the mudari', which for this one is yutqinu. But are we sure? Well, let's have a look at the past tense, atqana. As you can see, there are 4 letters here. So again, verbs with more than 3 letters, we start with the mudari', so we start with yutqinu. Replace the ya with a mim, so we have mutqin. As you can see, again, the ya has dropped off and we have the mim in its place. And again, it's an ism fa'il, so we are finishing on tanween. So we end up with mutqinun from yutqinu. We have come to the end of the lesson, so let's have a mulakhas. We said ism fa'il refers to the doer of an action. It's derived from a verb. It follows a pattern, and the pattern that it follows very much depends on whether the verb, and this is specifically the fi'l madi, has 3 letters or whether the verb has more than 3 letters. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you in the next one, inshallah.